So I've just spent a good part of an hour playing the co-op in Syndicate, 3 different maps. And first of all, what was the sort of design vision behind creating the co-op for this game?
It was to keep it in touch with the old legacy. We had 4 agents going in, and it fits very well for the co-op mode. Then we also have 4 agents going in, and it's much more action-filled. Whereas the single player is more of a story-driven experience. Here it's just action and fun is the focus. We don't really care that much about the story in the co-op. We leave that up to the single player side because it fits better there. So it's a lot about replayability and the fun of having 4 guys with miniguns walking in a place and just tearing it up.
So, but there is some sort of overarching story, right? Though there is some sort of setting for these co-op missions.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's a loose narrative running through. The first time you play the co-op missions, you play them in order, and it tells the story of a new syndicate, Wolf Western. This is kind of a new aggressive syndicate on the rise, and they're doing a territory grab off the 3 big boys, Aspari, Cayman Global, and Eurocorp.
And I thought when I delved into sort of the progression and the persistence that's underneath all of that, where you unlock new weapons and you unlock your ship abilities and all of that stuff, seemed really, really deep. And I for just a brief playthrough, I couldn't get into it that much. Could you give us some sort of overview of what's on offer?
Yeah, it's split into 3 parts. First is the ship upgrades, which is when you kind of upgrade the body of your agent and the ship in his head to become more powerful, take more damage, be able to run further and stuff like that. Then we have the weapon research, which is where you upgrade your weapons, add grenade launcher or make the weapons shoot through walls, bigger ammo, do more damage with them and so on. And then there's application research part where you upgrade the applications that you use, so your shield ability might shield the entire squad and be more powerful shield, or get a group heal, improve the effectiveness of that, and the virus spell does more and so on. So there's 3 parts to it, all connected. So it's a pretty deep and broad progression system in it.
Yeah, I think if you look at it, there's so many options available that it's a little bit daunting to find out, like, how does our squad best sort of equip themselves for any mission?
Yeah, I think there's a degree of that, but it's not something that we expect or require you to get into straight away. And you start off as a level 1 agent. We equip you with a basic loadout of 3 or 4 assault weapons, a shotgun, an assault rifle, and a sniper rifle, and some sidearms as well. So you can just choose some very familiar ballistic weapons and play the game. And then as you progress, you'll kind of you'll pick up some of these more advanced weapons, and then maybe you'll choose to kind of look into how to unlock them for yourself and how to upgrade them. But the defaults are all there, ready for your playing style. And then as you progress and become more familiar, more comfortable with all of the, as you say, the depth of the co-op campaign, you can customize that setup to suit your playing style yourself.
I think I picked up a flamethrower thingy and something that had some sort of lock on where I could run around. Could you sort of give us some insight into some of the more exotic weapons that are on offer?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of the weapons from the original, minigun, flamethrower, and then some more exotic like the ghost gun, which shoots bullets that can lock and that actually bends, so you can shoot around corners. And then we also have the electromace, which shoots an arc of electricity that will stun enemies, so your teammates can kill them easier. And we have...
I think I saw some enemies with that one.
Yeah, enemies use all these weapons also, and they're quite efficient. Then, for example, we also have the swarm launcher, which shoots out an entire magazine of rockets that explodes and goes away in all directions, and then they start homing in on you. So when enemies use that against you, you can breach each individual rockets to kind of repel them. So you have 8 rockets come on, and your entire team has to breach them all quickly. So we have quite a few more exotic sci-fi weapons that are of a different gameplay purpose than the ordinary ballistic weapons.
So, what kind of vision do you have for this game, and how important is co-op to the whole experience, would you say?
I mean, co-op was always conceived as a co-op campaign, We never set out just to build a co-op mode where you were just replaying single-player maps or playing in a very similar style to single-player, but with just 4 guys. It was conceived from the ground up to be a co-op campaign, a kind of separate proposition in its own right. And as you've seen today, it's got a hell of a lot of depth and a hell of a lot of scope to support that. And I think we're very proud of what we've actually built. It does stand alone on its and speaks for itself.
And from my personal view, I thought that this kind of gameplay would not really suit a single-player campaign because it's so frenetic paced all the time that it wouldn't really suit something where you want to tell a story.
But it does. I mean, the single-player campaign does have it kind of story beats where it is more low-paced and the story moves forward. But the gameplay is, I mean, a little bit less chaotic perhaps since you don't have your 3 friends, you don't have to heal them and mind about them. It's all only you and the enemies. But it fits very well, and when you start using the applications and the Dart overlay together, you can get a very nice flow through the scenarios and kind of really create this action movie sequence almost when it all comes together. So it fits very well together, even for single player.
Speaking of the Dart overlay, sort of what kind of things does it allow in co-op and the single-player campaign?
So so everyone has this chip in their head, and as an agent, you have the ability to access the kind of dataverse through your chip and see it as she does, effectively. So that's what Dart overlay is. So in single player, you have the ability to kind of clock up your brain effectively, and therefore time dilates and you perceive everything moving in slow motion. But because to do this you're flooding your system with adrenaline, you can move faster relative to everyone else as well. But also you can kind of pick up on the electronic signatures of all the other chips in the world, and that includes the chips in your enemy. So you can effectively start to track them and see them through walls, and even target them and breach them through walls. And a lot of those mechanics and more move over into co-op as well. You have the ability to keep track of your squad mates, breach without line of sight, and track enemy through obstacles as well.
That's a second layer of tactics that I did not delve that deeply into, but that I need to do to be successful in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of another layer. You can get it and play it, and then you find another layer, and it has quite a bit of a depth, so you always find more layers. And once you start getting more applications, you can find new tactics, how to play with them, and then how your group can use different applications together to maximize the results, which is quite important on the higher difficulties, because then we are quite mean and don't hold anything back. So then you really need to start using your applications, and you really need to upgrade your agent to be able to deal with it. And once you start using them all together and you kind of start working together as a team, it starts working really well, and it's really rewarding.
And is there like benefits to specializing as well? Sort of like one guy is a healer and one guy is, or is it more sort of looking for a jack of all trades kind of players?
I think, as Roger said, as you progress, you will need to kind of like form teams with the appropriate balance. And so absolutely, a support kind of role, the guy who stays back, sniper rifle, but has the kind of healing and the shielding kind of abilities to support those guys who are kind of tanking it up front with their much more kind of aggressive and weapons and breaches.
Because I think one of our first like natural tactics was just to walk in a line and then sort of roll back, and someone behind was healing all the time. And I guess that's sort of a classic tactic when you play like that. But sort of what kind of things have you seen? You've obviously played it much more, but what kind of sort of tactics evolves later on?
Well, that's the first tactic is kind of the very simple tank heal, which is what people most fall back, and it will work for quite a long while. But I mean, later on, as you get more advanced applications, it becomes more important to use them, because, for example, if you have 2 reactives coming towards you, you can throw exploit weakness on one of them, so he slows down so he can't move as fast, while you drag the other one away and then deal with him. If one comes, you can, for example, use the virus application, so you don't have to breach his armor, because it eats through the armor anyway, so you can get rid of a stage like that. So these work together quite a bit, and if all your applications are down, maybe one has the battery application, which is pretty much he can recharge his teammates' applications to all bring them back up again. So teamwork becomes more and more important the further you progress and the higher up you go in the difficulties.
All right, so After staying in the dark for a while with Syndicate, you sort of moved from announcement to release really quickly. Sort of, is there anything left to do, and what's your feeling when the game is now pretty much finished?
So that one. So yeah, I mean, we did come out late, and it was kind of partly strategic and partly kind of like forced upon us by the various events that happen in the kind of the industry's calendar, if you like. But yeah, we're pretty much done now. The software you've played today is near final, but not quite. We're wrapped up. The demo's done. That's out on the 31st of January, and yeah, the game releases on all platforms in Europe, at least on the 24th of February. So yeah, just events like this to get out there and talk about it and give people the opportunity to play it, to do it really.
And what's the journey been like for Starbreeze?
It's been quite a long journey, almost 4 years. Had its ups and downs as all journeys do, but in the end we do have a game we're very, very proud of. So it's been a very good journey, and it is Syndicate. For many of us, it's one of our childhood dream games, so it's very cool to be able to do a remake on it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.